Parker had seen hundreds of species during his 3 years on station Kepler 442, but the creature huddled near the waste recycler was unlike any he'd encountered. Her translucent skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and her forearms clutched a tattered cloth that might have once been ceremonial robes. She looked ancient, weathered by time and hardship. "Spare credits for food?" she rasped, her voice box struggling with Standard Galactic. Parker glanced at his datapad, checking his account balance. The mining operation had paid well this cycle. He transferred 50 credits, without thinking much of it enough, for a decent meal in the lower decks. The aliens' eyes, all 6 of them, widened. "Human generosity," she whispered. "Rare in these times. It's just credits." Parker shrugged, turning to leave. Wait, her gnarled hand, or was it a claw, reached out. "You work in astrogation, yes? I see the guild mark on your jacket." Parker paused. "Navigation specialist? Why?" The beggar woman's face contorted into what might have been a smile. "Your calculations are wrong." Parker laughed, the sound echoing off the metal walls. "Excuse me?" "The jump coordinates to the Andara cluster. Your guild published them last rotation. They're wrong." She spoke with sudden clarity, the uncertain beggar persona falling away like shed skin. "That's impossible. Those coordinates were verified by the Central Navigation Authority, triple-checked by AI systems that haven't made an error in 2 centuries. Parker's amusement faded into irritation. "Thanks for the concern, but 43 ships will die when the guild convoy jumps next week," the alien interrupted. "The gravitational lensing around the neutron star at coordinates 445.332, 778 hasn't been properly calculated. Your sensors don't detect exotic matter the way my people's did." Parker stared at her. "Your people?" "I am Vesha, last of the navigators of Kelthera. We mapped the stars when your species still lived in caves." Pride flickered across her features before fading back into weariness. "But my people are gone. The galaxy forgot us. And I am just a beggar now." The humans stood frozen. The Kelthera were legends, myths whispered about in academy courses on ancient civilizations. They'd supposedly possessed an innate ability to sense space-time distortions, guiding vessels through impossible routes before vanishing from known space 3,000 years ago. "The Kelthera are extinct," Parker said slowly. "Nearly." Vesha's luminescence dimmed. "I am the last. And soon I will be gone too. But not before I try to save your people from their arrogance." Parker should have walked away. Every rational instinct screamed that this was a scam, a delusion, or worse, sabotage. But something in those ancient eyes made him pause. Humans hadn't survived First Contact, the expansion wars, and integration into galactic society by ignoring their instincts. "Show me," he said. 3 days later, Parker sat in his cramped apartment, surrounded by holographic projections of stellar maps. Vesha sat across from him, her frail form dwarfed by the technical displays, yet somehow commanding the space with quiet authority. "Here," she pointed to a seemingly empty region of space. "Your instruments see nothing because they measure conventional matter and energy. But exotic matter-dark matter interactions, they create eddies in space-time. Like rapids in a river, you cannot see." Parker ran the simulations again, this time incorporating Vesha's corrections. The computer processed for several minutes before displaying results that made his blood run cold. The safe jump corridor the guild had mapped wasn't safe at all. It passed within lethal range of a dark matter concentration that would shear any ship attempting to enter hyperspace. "This can't be right," Parker muttered. But his hands were already reaching for his comm unit. "Your people excel at innovation," Vesha said softly. "But you are young in the cosmos. You build magnificent machines, but forget to look beyond what they tell you." Parker contacted Eva, his colleague, and the only person at the guild who might believe him. She arrived within the hour, her sharp features skeptical until she saw the data. If this is accurate, ... Ava's voice trailed off as she ran her own verification protocols. Parker, if this is accurate, we need to inform the guild immediately. They won't listen, Parker said. Not based on the word of a beggar and 2 junior navigators. Then we make them listen. Ava's eyes hardened with determination. We have 3 days before the convoy jumps. We'll need proof they can't ignore. The next 72 hours blurred together. Parker and Eva worked relentlessly, using every resource they could access legally and several they couldn't. Vesha guided them. Her knowledge spanning millennia, her methods incomprehensible yet undeniably effective. She taught them to see patterns in the cosmic background radiation that human instruments dismissed as noise, to read the subtle signatures of gravitational eddies in ways that violated conventional physics but proved accurate when tested. On the final day, with 8 hours before the convoy's scheduled departure, they burst into the guild master's office with evidence so overwhelming it couldn't be dismissed. Sensor logs from private ships, testimony from 3 other species whose navigation methods differed from human standards, and most damning a real-time scan using Vesha's techniques that showed the death trap waiting in the safe corridor. The guild master, a stern woman named Administrator Kane, studied the data in silence. Then she activated her cone. Delay the convoy departure. I want a full audit of the Andara route. The audit confirmed everything. 43 ships over 2,000 lives would have been lost. The guild issued a formal retraction, revised their entire navigation protocol, and quietly requested that Vesha serve as a consultant. Parker found her in the same spot where they'd met, near the waste recycler. But this time, guild officials were with her, offering contracts and accommodations. She waved them away tiredly. Parker, she said, her luminescence brightening when she saw him. Come, sit. He sat beside her, ignoring the stares from passers-by. I never thanked you, he said, for the warning. You thanked me with 50 credits and an open mind, Vesha replied. That is more than most give beggars or strangers who claim impossible knowledge. What will you do now? The old alien looked up at the curved ceiling of the station, where holographic displays showed the stars beyond. Teach. Share what my people knew before we fade completely from memory. Your species listens, Parker. That is your greatest strength. Not your technology or your ambition, but your willingness to learn even from beggars. Parker smiled. Especially from beggars. As guild officials finally convinced Vesha to accept their offer of proper quarters and a teaching position, Parker watched her leave. The hunched beggar woman had transformed into something else, a bridge between humanity's future and the cosmos's ancient past. And all because a human had laughed at an impossible claim, then chose to investigate instead of dismiss. That, Parker thought, was what made humanity special. Not that they never made mistakes, but that they were willing to admit when they were wrong and learn from those who knew better, even beggars. Especially beggars who had mapped the stars for 3,000 years.